So, if you saw my video last week regarding Thor Ragnarok, you know I wasn't the biggest fan of Taika Waititi's take on Thor. I thought the humor was forced, the tone that they were going for seemed out of place for the character, and that they didn't do that great of a job of transitioning said character from the old style into the new style. I also suggested that if Taika had been more involved in the writing process, the project would have turned out more balanced and enjoyable. Check. Story and screenplay. Wow. Okay. Thor Love and Thunder is easily my favorite of the Thor movies, as it takes the best elements of all the previous movies and combines it into a mighty thunderbolt of action, comedy, drama, and superpowered visuals, for the most part. Let's start by going over again the three sections of my breakdown of Ragnarok and explain why this film handles these elements 1,000 times better.
Perfectly balanced, as all things should be.
In Ragnarok, the tone just seemed to shift to comedy without much rhyme or reason. They were just like, hey, we're writing a comedy now, just write funny stuff. In Thor Love and Thunder, however, the comedy stems from the drama. Thor just went through many painful deaths throughout his life, between his mom, his brother 3 times, his best friend, and on top of that, he's still recovering from losing to Thanos and letting half the universe die, even though everyone would eventually come back. But I mean, come on, if you sat on that for 5 years, you wouldn't just get over that in the snap of a finger, so to speak. So it's like, of course he's more of a lunkhead than usual. Now he's faced with another opportunity for love, one that he's already lost in the past, with Jane Foster. And without giving too much away, he's afraid to lose her as well, so his gut reaction is to shove her away, even though he still loves her, but again, he's not right in the head from the trauma that he's been through, so he does it in the most insane ways possible. This is how you shift from something dramatic to something so comedic, by making the comedy stem from the drama. This movie technically opens with an introduction to the villain, but we'll get to that in a little bit. The introduction to Thor that follows after that is a much more respectful and grand introduction, with Korg telling people the story of the God of Thunder, setting up a narration that's really fitting. And while I typically hate narrations in movies as I feel like they tell the story rather than allowing the film to show it, this one doesn't overstay its welcome, but I digress. The opening action scene with Thor and the Guardians got me so hyped up to watch a Thor movie that it got me asking, was this what people were talking about when they saw Ragnarok? I'm totally on board with this. The rock music, the action, the comedy, the visuals were a little gray and grainy in this scene as they are in a few other parts, but I didn't care. This was the most fun I've had with the MCU since No Way Home. Look at their lineup. There's been a ton of material since then. Again, I really feel like Taika's involvement in the writing process helped this film out tremendously, as the comedy not only stemmed from the drama significantly, but I was laughing way more in this than I was in any of the kindergarten crap that was in the last movie.
Jane?
I was dying laughing at that scene. I think a good chunk of that came from the build-up, but also the relatability of it. Like, wow, my ex-girlfriend has all of my powers now. As for the rest of the characters, Valkyrie gets a few good gags where she's passively aroused by Thor, the Guardians get a few good gags in the first chunk of the film, and I think this is the funniest that I've seen Natalie Portman be, as she desperately tries to figure out this whole space Viking thing, as she puts it. Much like Thor, her comedy stems from some heavy drama, but again, I can't really say anything beyond that. The only character I didn't find all that funny was Korg. Ironic since he's played by Waititi, but I don't know, his jokes just seemed a little forced, and at one point his personality comes off a tad headstrong. Now that we got all those sections out of the way, let me talk about the one aspect that Ragnarok did exceptionally well as well, but this one knocks out of the freaking park. Holy crap, crap do I love this villain. I've never seen such a perfect combination of menacing and compelling since, well, maybe Thanos. This is Gore, the God Butcher, and everything about this character is so perfect he may even deserve his own video. First, they establish his backstory perfectly. He doesn't just want to kill gods by nature the same way the Dark Elves want darkness by nature. You understand what his motivation is and what sparked it in the first place. Hell, his backstory is so well established that it made me realize we never really knew Hela's motivations. She's just kind of naturally evil too. Second, every stare that he gives, every sentence he utters, every build-up to his kills, or at least attempts at kills, is creeping, chilling, and intimidating. I don't know if it's Christian Bale's best performance, but it's the scariest one from recent memory, maybe rivaled by The Machinist. And no, I haven't seen American Psycho. Aside from the lameness of Malekith, the previous Thor villains, to an extent, bore comparisons to Disney villains, but Gore comes off more like a horror villain, but in that comic book style that still contrasts with the rest of the film. There's a sequence in his Shadow Realm that reminds me quite a bit of Frank Miller's Sin City. What else can I say? A fantastic villain for a fantastic film. Thor Love and Thunder is the most fun I've had with the MCU in a long time, and the most fun I've ever had with this character. By the end of it, I had a grin on my face that I haven't gotten from a Thor movie since the first one, but it also helped me to understand why people loved Ragnarok so much. I still don't think it's good, but the exhilaration, laughs, and rockstar awe that people were describing when talking about Ragnarok, that's what I felt watching Love and Thunder. The reactions I'm hearing from others don't seem to match up with mine, so I can understand if you're iffy about seeing it, but I cannot deny my unabashed, over-the-moon, enthusiastic recommendation for it, an absolute must-see for any fan of the MCU. But what did you think of it? Do you agree with my enthusiasm, or was it a disappointment for you as well? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more great content. I'm CM Waters, and I'll see you soon.